Hi, it's Tanya. Today we're going to talk portals. So let's get right into it. Okay, so this is topic number 8. Portals are basically gates or let's say an entrance or an opening into your spirit through your eyes and your ears. So what you see and what you hear can infiltrate your spirit. And when I say infiltrate, I mean so the definition says to secretly become part of a group or in order to get information or to influence the way that a group thinks or behaves. And that's in reference to a person as well. So to secretly become a part of a person in order to get information or to influence the person in the way that he or she thinks or behaves, that's infiltrate. So through our portals, our spirits can be infiltrated by what we see, what we hear. So the things we read, things like things we see, maybe things we read, books, magazines, television, things that we see through our eyes, things that we hear through our ears, let's say music, side conversations, podcast. So whatever we're feeding ourselves through our ears and our eyes, it gets into our spirit. So whether that is something negative or something positive, that's what gets into our spirit, and we start to behave and act a certain way if we're not guarded. So what I want you guys to understand today is that Satan is the prince of the airwaves. Ephesians 2:2 says that the prince of the power of the air is in the spirit of who now works in the sons of disobedience. So, who is the spirit who works in the sons of disobedience? Satan is the spirit who works through the sons of disobedience. And he who works through the sons of disobedience is the prince of the power of the air. So when we talk about that, we're talking about airwaves. Okay, airwaves are radio frequencies used for broadcasting. So we're talking about news media, we're talking about television, we're talking about radio, we're talking about any of those things that have radio frequencies that that transport information to us. So that's a reason why we are not always to believe everything that comes to us through media and through radio broadcasting, through the news media, through news segments. Although there may be some truth to some things, all of it is not truth. If Satan is the prince of the airwaves, then a lot of it, a majority of it, is probably not even true what they're feeding us. So even though it comes from the news, you have to use your spiritual eyes, spiritual ears, and have this discerning spirit enough to know what is accurate and what's not, what is bearing witness with your spirit and what's not. You can't just take what you hear and run with it as truth, especially if it's coming through the airwaves. Another thing that a lot of people get tripped up on is falling asleep with the television and the TV going. So whatever program you're watching, whatever you're listening to, when you fall asleep, that it penetrates your spirit. Even when you're watching it, it penetrates your spirit. But at least when you're awake, if it's something that you don't want to look at or view or to have any part of or to take in spiritually, you can always flip the station, turn the channel or turn it off or whatever. But when you're sleeping, you can't do that. So you have to be mindful of what you watch, what you what you have on when you're falling asleep. And I really recommend that you really don't have any kind of broadcasting on, because even if you have it on let's say like Word Network or whatever, TBN or whatever, that's like have the intention of feeding us spiritually, spiritual food and things that are positive. You don't know what kinds of ads or commercials may come in between those segments and those programs. So basically anything that we anything we hear or see can get into our spirit. So when we're sleeping, we subconsciously can still hear things that's going on, like while we're asleep. So and a lot of things, like for instance, let's say Disney Channel. And this is like for kids. I know a lot of parents that have a lot of issues, with kids, being disrespectful and being rebellious and, being very sarcastic and, just talking back. And, these kids are just really out of control when, in that area. And a lot of the kids are watching things on television where the characters and the actors and actresses are displaying those types of characters, and the children are portraying what they see. So even if you would turn the TV off, even if you would they fall asleep with it on, it still gets into their spirit. So your child may go to sleep one way and wake up a totally different child, wake up with a bad attitude, snapping and being sarcastic and talking back, and you're like, well, what in the world's going on? You can count a lot of that to what your child is being fed while you are not paying attention. A lot of shows for children talk about preteen relationships and stuff like that they don't even need to be, thinking about, at the ages that they are. And so a lot of promiscuous, behavior, spirits of lust, spirits of pornography, spirits of, all kind of unclean things can get into our children, and we wonder why they're rebellious. We wonder why they're stubborn, so we have to think about, okay, what are they listening to? What are they looking at? Because those are the portals that the enemy uses to get into our spirits, to plant seeds that's going to reap a harvest that's not going to be good. It's going to, so whatever seeds are planted, definitely if it's being watered by constantly pouring into, the same thing, is going to reap a harvest, and it's not going to be good. And then, as parents, we have to deal with the consequences of a harvest, that's coming from seeds that we've allowed to be planted inside of our children. Also, the same thing with adults. If we constantly watch and look at things that are not good, let's say whether it be pornography or whether it be people, let's say, cheating on their spouses, or a lot of envy or jealousy, like a lot of things that go on in a lot of television shows or series or movies. We have to make sure that before we turn something, I'm not saying now don't watch it. What I'm saying is make sure that you are completely guarded spiritually before you start to watch it. You put on the whole armor of God, and make sure that you're suited up and you're guarded up before you begin to watch whatever it is you want to watch on television, because that can have a big effect on what's inside of us. We can find ourselves being bitter about stuff that happened stuff that we might have let go years ago. All of a sudden we wake up the next morning and we're bitter about it or angry about it, and we wonder, like, why am I even thinking about it? I've been got over that like a long time ago. Well, okay, let's rewind a little bit. What did I watch yesterday, or what was I listening to yesterday? What songs, was I singing, or what music was I listening to that might have had some of that in it that could have gotten into my spirit? Or better yet, what came on TV while I was sleeping, with the TV still on, that might have gotten into my spirit as well. Another thing that's very, very important, horror films and movies, sci-fi, things like that, Walking Dead, a lot of stuff that's horrific and demonic can also all of those penetrate the mind and the spirit and the heart as well, through the portals, the eyes and the ears. And we wonder why kids or even some adults, all of a sudden we have to, the doctors have to prescribe them medicine because they're hearing voices, or they're seeing things that's not there, or they're talking to themselves, or something is just not right with them, and they're not just them, they're not themselves. So horror films is like when your television is on, your radio is on, you're allowing whatever is coming through the airwaves, you're allowing that to penetrate your home. You're allowing that to infiltrate your home. So you have to be careful and mindful of the things that you allow your children to watch, things that you yourself watch, especially if you're not really guarded up and suited up, spiritually, for your spirit to, block that to, from getting into your spirit. So so I just want you guys to be mindful of portals. Satan is the prince of the airwaves. You cannot believe everything that you see on the news. Everything is not 100. If he's a prince of the power of the airwaves, and Satan, everything about him is a lie. So you have to be able to decipher, with your spirit of discernment, what's real and what's not, what's truth and what's not. And that's another reason why we all need the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is going to tell us immediately, something immediately is going to bear witness with our spirit, that's not right. The Holy Spirit is never going to lie to us. It's always going to keep us on the up and up on what's true and what's not true, what's good, what's not good, what's false. The Holy Spirit is going to always lead and guide us all day, every day. Would never let us down, would never fail us, period. That's one of the many jobs of the Holy Spirit. So I don't know how we would make it without the Holy Spirit. I just don't know. So just be mindful today of portals. Let's pay attention to what we're allowing our children to watch and see. Let's pay attention to what kind of books we are reading for entertainment, what kind of shows we're watching, what we're allowing our children to watch. All of that. All of that is like a gate entrance into our spirit man, into our home. And then next thing you know, you're battling and fighting all kind of demonic spirits, and you yourself is out of control, and you don't know what's going on with you, but you don't realize there's a lot of stuff that's going on inside of you, because coming from what has entered through your portals, whether you are awake or whether you're asleep, is going to enter in your eyes and your ears. So you have to make sure you're cover your children, make sure the televisions are off, music are off. Make sure that they don't, in their earbuds. I know a lot of times, the kids walk around with their earbuds in. We don't know what they're listening to, but they're acting like completely out of their character, or they're just turning up all kind of crazy ways. You have to be mindful of what they're listening to, so that you can kind of help guide them, because they don't know what's good for them. It's our responsibility to pour into our children and to help rear them. We can't let them rear themselves in that way, because they won't even have a defense. When the enemy does attack them when they're older, they won't even know how to defend themselves. If we don't teach them now how to defend themselves against the enemy, it starts now, because children are being attacked every day with all kinds of stuff, and a lot of kids don't even know how to pray against the enemy or against what the devil is trying to do. They don't even know where to start in prayer, of how to rebuke spirits off of them, and how to speak peace and rest into their little bodies and hearts and souls and minds. But it starts with us. It starts with the parents. So we have a responsibility to teach our children how to combat spiritually, and how to, we have to teach them about spiritual warfare, so we can't let the enemy claim our children or ourselves. We belong to God, and God gives us weapons and tools, so we have to use wisdom with the portals. We have to be sensitive to what we're allowing to come into our eyes and our ears. So that's the video on portals. I hope that it enlightened your understanding a little bit about what we're seeing and what we're watching. So and what we're hearing. So with that being said, I pray that you've taken something from this, and I'll see you again soon.